What's up, y'all? You got the original Lone Wolf coming at you with a brief little video. Just thought I'd jump on here real quick, man, and just touch on a couple of things in the new year. And I'm gonna get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? I'm putting together some stuff that I want to do probably later on today or tomorrow in regards to the fraud. I did a video not too long ago, and it was about the Second Amendment. Remember, I did that screen share where I was talking to you all about the word bear and arm. I got some feedback in the comment section, and I'm not gonna say it was necessarily negative or bogus about it. It wasn't like that. But I got some feedback in the comment section, which is sparking me to do this video about fraud, right? The brother Lex Will had commented. Shout out to you, Lex. And it was another cat that had left a comment too, you know what I'm saying? And like how I was trying to explain to them in the comment section, I understand what y'all saying, right? Like, I'm not disagreeing with y'all when y'all say, hey man, don't use those words, and you know, this is one of the ways that they hook and book you and you know, all this other stuff, right? Lex Will wasn't wrong, and neither was the other person that had left a comment. They weren't wrong, I'm agreeing with them. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a screen share where we're gonna have a conversation about fraud, the way fraud works, the punishment for fraud, because in case you guys didn't know, there's no statute of limitation on fraud, right? That's like murder and shit. Like if you stone cold-bloodedly murder a motherfucker, if they get up with your glamour 30 years later, you going to prison. If they can prove it was you that did it, right? Fraud is the same way. If you can prove fraud, there could be some redress. There could be some recourse for that. And or that person could go to prison, depending on the extent of the fraud, right? So what I was trying to explain to the brother Lex Will and the other person that had commented was, number one, you're right about the whole term about using those words and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? It's true. But what we have to understand is that before we can even get to that part about whether or not if we should use the word or not use the word, even though I've already said, you know, I agree with them. But before we can even get to that part, you know what I'm saying, we got to deal with the fraud. Why? Because the fraud came first. Meaning, you always use those words, right? Bear and arm, right? Or guns or whatever. We've always used words that we thought, like for example, when some sort of competent authority, like a cop or a judge or whatever, asks you, do you understand, right? What they really asking you is, do you stand under their authority? Not do you comprehend? Because that's what you would think that they mean. You would think they mean, do you comprehend what I'm saying to you? That's what you would think. But in reality, that's not what they asking you. They asking you, do you give us sole power over your motherfucking ass? To do what as we will with you. That's what do you understand mean when you're dealing with judges and cops and shit, right? So I'm trying to use examples so you guys understand what I'm saying. And what I mean is that the fraud came first, meaning these are normal general words that we use on a regular basis. And they turned around at some point, you know, I'm not trying to do a history lesson part, I'm not really going there. But at some point they turned around and they created a language called legalese, right? They constructed and they formulated that language, right? And they put it on the people. Now, legalese is only supposed to be used in what we would consider to be legal or illegal scenarios, aka statutes and codes. You see what I'm saying? And what has happened is that they've turned this shit on the general public, didn't tell anybody what it is that they did, and they continue to have people thinking that when they use these words, they're using them in a way of a regular general sense, i.e. a Webster's dictionary, where in reality, these words that they're using you have to look them up in a law dictionary. And if you don't look them up in a law dictionary, you won't know what they're talking about. That's fraud. That's fraud. So whether or not if I use the word gun, pistol, banger, burner, whatever those words may be. Just like now, what I'm saying, I'm on the road traveling, right? Because the same thing apply for like when you were moving violations. And y'all, if you ever been rocking with me since day one, y'all know I be all over that shit with moving violations. I don't pay that shit. Right now, I do not have a driver's license. Not only do I not have a driver's license to show a cop if they stop me right now, my shit is expired. And I'm not going back to get it, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is, like, if a cop pulled me over right now and I start using words like car, driver, and passenger and all of that other shit, using those words would be the same perspective that Lex Will and the other guy was talking about when they was like, man, you shouldn't be using the word gun and this, that, and the other. That would be the same aspect, using the word car, driving and all that other shit. But it still do not negate the fraud. The fraud came before I ever used those words in a way that I shouldn't have. Why? Because like I said, they took regular words that we use all the time and they created a language called legalese, right? And it's literally a language. It's literally a language like Spanish, like Chinese and Arabic and all that shit is literally a language, okay, that these so-called competent authorities use, okay? And they don't tell the public that, nah, man, this shit don't mean this, it don't mean that. You know what I'm saying? You are the creator of it. You put it on everybody. They did that. And then you didn't say anything. You didn't give a motherfucker a prior notice. You didn't give them full disclosure. That's fraud. Whether if you use the words or not, whether if Lex Will use the words or not, it don't change the fact that that shit is fraud, and the fraud came before Lex Will used the words. Period. And this is the reason for why I can use terms like cop pull me over right now, right? I'm headed back into Chicago. I should be there in like 6 minutes, right? A cop could pull me over right now, and I could use words like driving and all this other shit, and still have the motherfucking tickets thrown out. Because I'm able to explain this shit. I'm able to point out the fraud. See, that's what the problem is. The real problem becomes when you can point out the fraud. For all of y'all who rock with Grey Wolf, that be down with Jim Red Wolf on his channel and shit, y'all know Grey Wolf beat a right to travel case in the Supreme Court. You see what I'm saying? See, when you able to explain that shit, you know what I'm saying, and you can articulate it in a way to where you back them in the corner. It's like, yeah, man, I see what the fuck you did. You had on red pants with some black shoes and a red hat. You know what I'm saying? When you draw that kind of attention to them, they don't like that. They don't want that. So that's what the video that I'm gonna do is gonna be about. And it's gonna be a screen share. Y'all ain't gonna see my ugly face. It'll be a screen share. So you brothers and sisters can understand that, yes, the person that commented on the page and the brother Lex Will, they were correct. I'm not dissing them. I ain't saying no bogus shit to them. They were correct. My response to them was that, yeah, bro, you right, but the fraud came first. Straight up. You can't regulate fraud. You can't do that. Even if those people are using those words, right? Because the whole idea is, you probably shouldn't be using the words, right? And it's like, yeah, Rich Lone Wolf know that. I know. You right. You right, G. You ain't gonna get no argument from it. You know what I'm saying? But what do we do about the fraud? Because the fraud is how we got to the point to where people say, hey man, you shouldn't be using those words. Those are corporate terms and blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? The fraud came first, guys. So I want you guys to understand that. Like I said, I'm gonna drop that video either later on today. I do got some errands to run there. I gotta go grocery shopping and all this other shit. Hell, I need to do a video while I'm in the grocery store, all these high ass prices. But if I don't do it today with the few errands I gotta run, then I'll do it tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So people understand, because they bogus as hell. They bogus as hell. Like I give you 2 more examples, and I'm gonna get off that topic and jump on something else before I get out of here. Minority, right? We all were led to believe at one point in time, me, Lex Will, Jim Red Wolf, everybody, we was all led to believe that a minority meant the lesser of the parties in the room. Meaning, if you had a total of 7 people, 5 were men and 2 were women, the women would be the minority because they are the lesser of the parties, right? Well, in legalese, or double speak, or forked tongue, if you will, that shit mean you a child. You a motherfucker who ain't reached the age of maturity, which, you know, typically in America is 18. But all along, they got you thinking that, well, you know, it's only 3 men in the room and 4 women, so the men are the minority. When in reality, no, that's not what it mean in legalese. That's fraud, man. So you got all these motherfuckers running around out here talking about they're a minority and shit. So they are agreeing to being a child, even though they don't realize that that's what it means. Nobody ever told them. They're not trying to tell them. They done fucked up the education system, so it's really, I ain't gonna say there's no way to learn, but it makes it extremely difficult to learn, and they were in control of all of that. That makes that shit fraud. You know what I'm saying? That makes it fraud, man. You can't do no shit like that, and then you want to turn around and penalize people and arrest them and do all this other crazy shit because they use these words that was never fully explained to them as to what the whole meaning of that shit was. And then, let's not forget, when you try to bring this shit to their attention, they make it very difficult for you to get recourse. All that shit is fraud. Period. Period. These lawyers are not here for you. You go retain a lawyer in a traffic case or a child support case and all this other shit, and you never get what you want. And the only thing that end up happening is you lose your motherfucking money. And it's all because they're in bed together. It was designed so that you don't get any recourse, but they get paid. It's like what Eddie Murphy told Don Amici and his brother in Trading Places and shit when he was explaining to them how the whole thing with the stock market worked. They explained that shit to him, and he was like, they was like, you get what we talking about, William? And he was like, yeah, it sounded to me like y'all a couple of bookies. You see what I'm saying? It's fraud, man. Because he told him, he said, regardless of the stock market go up or down, if our clients make money or lose money, Duke and Duke always retain their commission. Yeah, you a goddamn bookie. That's exactly what the hell you are. And that shit is fraud. Because the people don't realize that that's how the stock market works. And that they purposely tank the stock market like the one guy did. He was supposed to switch the reports and shit. We talking about in the movie Trading Places. He was supposed to switch the report to make it come out looking like one thing, and it would make the orange crop tank. You know what I'm saying? And then Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, they got their hands on the right shit, and, you know, they fixed it to where, you know, Don Amici and them ended up losing all of their money. You know what I'm saying? But the point that I'm trying to make in regards to that whole aspect of like with the stock market is fraud, man. It's like a Ponzi scheme. And that came first. Before, you know what I'm saying, I bought stocks. Before I bought any type of bonds and all this other stuff, the fraud came first. That means that shit has to be dealt with first. Period. That's how that shit worked. Now, again, please don't misunderstand me. I'm still not making an argument. I'm not making any argument as to why it's okay to use certain words. Keep that shit in mind. I'm still telling y'all I'm agreeing with what them brothers said. I'm not dissing them. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, and this part right here is just my opinion, but at the end of the day, I feel like the only way to make this shit better, you got to deal with certain things in the natural order of how they came. And this topic and the situation that I'm talking to y'all about right now, the motherfucking fraud came first. It must be addressed first. Period. Come on, man. You gonna get on or what? You a goddamn probation officer. Get your stupid ass on. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying. I'm not like saying that they wrong. They actually right. I'm just saying we gotta address the bullshit. This, like I told y'all, this is why I don't want to use the 1099As and shit, right? I got 2 different sets. I got the 1099As from 2022, and then the last ones they just sent me is the forever 1099As, where it's got 20 for the first 2 digits of the year, and then it's got a line right after the 0 where you got to write in the last 2 digits, which in this case would be 23, right? Because I knew back in July or August of this year, of last year, of 2022, I knew then that the IRS was gonna do it. I knew that before they did it, because we've been on top of that shit. in terms of discharging debt. And, you know what I'm saying? Like how Lex will be into history and shit. When you go on this channel, a lot of shit he talk about some of that shit be like 12, 1400 years ago or whatever. You know what I'm saying? This discharging debt, the laws in terms of what it is that they doing to us, and the shit with the Second Amendment and how they use double speak, and how you got to go through several different sources to understand what these motherfuckers are talking about. That's the shit that I'm all over. These United States codes and, you know what I'm saying, the fucking statutes and the codes, and I'm all over that shit. I was the first person to tell y'all that them fighting Joe Biden about discharging everybody's student loans, I was the first person to tell y'all that's bullshit. I was the first person to tell y'all that was bullshit, because the fucking public debt is supposed to be discharged dollar for dollar upon the back of the fucking United States. So how the fuck the Supreme Court gonna block Joe Biden talking about he want a motherfucker? Now don't misunderstand me now. Come on now, don't misunderstand me. Y'all know I know Joe Biden ain't shit and he up to no good, right? Y'all know that I know that just because he trying to discharge the debt don't mean that he for the people, any people, right? Y'all know I know that, right? So we got that part covered. I'm just simply talking about the fact of them saying that him discharging the debt upon the discharging of the student loan debt is unconstitutional, right? Now, check it out. It is unconstitutional, right? Because the only motherfucking currency that's out there is gold and silver. That's the only true currency, right? That's in the Constitution, right? So it is unconstitutional, right? But for y'all who know about the Organic Act of 1871, where they literally rewrote the Constitution when they became incorporated, okay? When they officially, because keep in mind, they was working on this back in 1776, 1777, 1778, and everything like that. They was working on this shit then. But it became official in 1871. That's where a lot of these coup d'etats came from. With them mysteriously taking our people out of power and government and all that shit that you be hearing Red talk about. That's how that happened. And then what came after that? You had the birth certificate, you had the fucking Social Security card, all of that shit came after that. Then they filed bankruptcy in 1933, because that's when they came up with the whole thing about discharging debt. So it is unconstitutional. It is. But it's still bullshit with the respect of the way y'all got it set up now. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. The way y'all got the shit set up now, and the fact that they've been fucking and screwing over all of that, is the reason for why we in dire straits economically now. Because they have not been living up to their trustee/fiduciary responsibility. They haven't been living up to that. They have not been treating me, they ain't been treating Jim Redwolf, Lex Will, or whoever else like the beneficiary that we are. We the fucking beneficiaries in this shit that y'all got set up the way it's set up now. And then as an American Indians anyway, we the fucking beneficiaries regardless. You dig? And they have not been living up to their motherfucking trustee fiduciary responsibility. They've been treating us as the goddamn trustee/fiduciary and treating themselves as the goddamn beneficiary, which is the reason for why we gotta pay them moving violations, taxes, and all the other shit. That's trust fraud. See how we back to fraud? We back to fraud, man. We back to fraud. And this whole video started out about me wanting to let people know that I'm gonna do a video on fraud regarding the video that I did with the Second Amendment, the screen share I did, and you know, with some of the comments that a couple of people had left. That's where all this came from. The entire 19 minutes and 3 seconds I've been on this video. Everything we've been talking about is fraud. Everything is all fraud. So on one hand, he can't discharge the debt for student loans because it is unconstitutional, right? But on the other hand, because most motherfuckers don't know, we ain't been under the original Constitution in 80 years, 90 years, okay? Because people don't know that, and then they don't know that the way they got it set up now, that your debt is supposed to be discharged. It is. The minute you sign your name, that shit's supposed to be discharged. And it's not, because they're not living up to their trustee relationship with you as the beneficiary. Period. That's just the bottom fucking line. Right? And then, well, motherfucker may say, well, you know what? Well, fuck that shit, Lone Wolf. We got to go back to the way the shit used to be under the original Constitution. You know? And it's like, okay, well, that's fine. That just means all these motherfuckers got to go to prison. Straight up. That's what that shit mean. You know? Because it is unlawful. It is. What they've done is treason to a level to where they could go to prison for this. Some of them could be tried and sentenced to death for treason for this. So that's all that means. If somebody drop in the comment section and say, well, we need to go back to the original Constitution. Okay, we'll get some handcuffs and shit out, and we need to build up a court and a jury and some judges, because that means a lot of people going to prison, judges included. But anyway, this is Richard Longwood, man. I'm back in the city. I just passed Homan, I think. Where the fuck am I at? I mean, Costner. I'm on Costner on 290 and shit. Finna go over here by my mom's crib over here on the outskirts of downtown. Sorry about that, King Lou. I couldn't get up with you yesterday, but you know, I had told you about, you know, with my little nephew and his party and shit like that. I love you. Like I told you yesterday, just try to give me a little bit more time, especially if you on the road, because I know you said you was flying out this morning. You know what I'm saying? But like, it sounded to me like you drove into Illinois. That's what it seemed like. But yeah, just try to give me a little bit more time, bro. You know what I'm saying? If you know you coming in, you feel me? So we can get together. I kind of hate that shit because, you know, we could have got together like we did the last time and kicked it and shit. But you know, I expressed the scenario to you. You know what I'm saying? So I apologize that we didn't get up with each other yesterday. But you know, I still love your motherfucking ass anyway. You know what I'm saying? But I'm about to get up out of here, man. Much love to y'all. Shout out to all of my new subscribers. Shout out to my subscribers in general. I love all of y'all. I appreciate all y'all. I appreciate the comments and shit, you know what I'm saying, that y'all drop. Y'all know I ain't no chump and shit. I don't be in there being bogus and disrespectful to people, and y'all already know I'm not like that. So much love to y'all, man. Let me get my ass up out of here. Enjoy y'all weekend and stay sucker free.